Hey everyone, I'm Nicole,
And I'm Gabrielle.
and we are the hosts of the Spiritual Sisters podcast.
Join us every week as we discuss all the spiritual topics like astrology, mediumship, psychic insights, and so much more.
We are often joined by others we have met along our spiritual journey who are well versed in many of these areas.
Get ready for enlightening discussions and interviews and personal experiences that we hope will expand your mind and get you thinking outside of the box.
Whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker or just beginning your spiritual journey, there's something here for everyone.
Check us out every Tuesday wherever you get your podcasts. See you then.
Bye!
Hi, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Soul Ecosystem Podcast. I'm your host, Anna Rising, and on this podcast, we discuss all things soul contracts. Today, we are going to be looking at the love and compatibility chart of Taylor Frankie Paul and Dakota Mortensen. And we have to visit Dakota Mortensen's soul contract because it has so much juicy details. It has so much tea for us. We have to dive in, and I have to tell you guys what is going on there. I have done a soul contract for Taylor Frankie Paul before. I feel like I'm mostly focused on the positives and kind of like talked her up because I'm a huge Taylor fan. I'm Team Taylor. I have so much to say about this season of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I cannot wait to get into that with you guys, but I do want to tell you what I see in their mutual compatibility chart as well as Dakota's because it is insane. It is insane. And like I always say, your soul contract will spill the tea on you very, very hard. Of course, like your contract will tell you like the positives, how they manifest in your life when you're operating from alignment, when you're following your soul's mission and your soul path. Likewise, it can show you when things start to go south, like how you might start showing up negatively when you are not operating at your best. So get ready for some dirt on both Taylor Frankie Paul and Dakota. I almost said Dakota Fanning. On Dakota Mortensen. Let me preface all of this by saying I have some thoughts and feelings on this season. I have had some thoughts about Dakota from the second that he showed up on screen. Like, I don't know, I feel like I could just sense his archetype. He felt so familiar to me because I know a thing or two. I have some experience around being around toxic men, especially addicted toxic men. So it was very interesting to immediately kind of recognize some mannerisms, recognize some red flags, and recognize some things that might have been like missed by like the naked eye, but like the underlying tone was there. Like he was setting Taylor up really hard. And it might take me a few hours to go over step by step all of the stuff that he has said to Taylor, all of the things that he did throughout their relationship that was really screwed up. But we're going to cover the big moments. Let's start with what just happened in season 4, where Taylor was trying to talk to him after they just ended up having a night together again. And she was trying to talk to him. He kept interrupting her. He kept saying that, I feel like you're calling me like this horrible, horrible person. And she never at any point said that he was a horrible person. She was voicing her feelings about it. She was like, hey, I was pregnant and you ended up cheating on me. And it was very interesting to see how he tries to gloss over that fact, tries to interrupt, cut that thought off so that he doesn't have to address the fact that he did it. Because at first he was kind of denying it. At first he was denying that timeline. He's like, no, you weren't pregnant. She's like, we were together and this and this and this. I was with your child and he cheated on her. But yes, he immediately takes that to mean you're calling me a horrible person. You're calling me this and this while not taking any accountability for what actually happened. Is that typical? Yes. When you're caught doing something like that, if you're a jerk, you're going to be completely releasing yourself of any accountability. But The problem that I have with Dakota is how often he appears back into her life as soon as she is about to finally break her way out of this relationship. Every single time, and her friends noticed this too. Like, I feel like the problem with Dakota is that he's a covert narcissist. And when your friends start to notice the kind of cycle and the patterns that are happening in your relationship, I feel like that's really bad. Like, this has been happening enough times that other people are picking up on this. And Taylor's in this position where she just can't detach. She said that she had a trauma bond with him, and I wholeheartedly agree with her. I feel like there's a lot of familiarity around her relationship with Dakota and around her mom's relationship with Taylor's biological father, but that's neither here nor there. I do feel like she has a trauma bond, and every time she's about to finally move on with her life, become the bachelorette, go into like, oh my goodness, there was this like award show that she was invited to and she was going to go to. And then right before, the night before that award show, guess who started this huge blowout with Taylor? Ended up making her cry the entire night to the point where she was like, I can't go. I can't show up to this thing. So when your friends start picking up on those kind of patterns, like, you know that this has happened so many times that it's like ridiculous at this point. So that's my biggest problem with Dakota. He will not let her move on. He knows how attached she is to him. He knows how she feels about him, and he uses that. He uses that in order to find ways to get back into her life. And it's funny though, because Taylor has to take some accountability here too, because she's telling him that she can't be with him. She can't trust him. She tried to be with him. They tried to work through the multiple times that he's cheated, because it was multiple times. She tried to work through it with him, but she couldn't get over that, over what happened, because she's like, I can never trust you again. I always feel like something is happening. And in this like age of social media, it's very easy to get into that mindset where every time somebody's phone goes off, you're like, who's texting them? Like, what is happening? And constantly being on the lookout for red flags or for secrets, right? So she's admitted that she cannot be in a relationship with him, but she can't let him go, because every single time he goes and sleeps with somebody, then she gets so upset, she calls him, she blows up, and it's a toxic cycle that ends up happening again and again and again. The problem is, not only is Dakota feeding into it, like leaning super into it, because I have a feeling he loves how much Taylor cares about him. I have a feeling that he might not have experienced that. So he's kind of really trying to milk that attention that he gets from her for all it's worth. The problem is that he will not just go and sleep with some random person. He will go and start sexting somebody that's a close family friend of multiple years. I want to say decades, but I don't know the exact number of years. He will go for like the kill. He goes for the most painful button that he can find. And if that is not a sign of a very unhealed person that just wants to do damage in somebody's life, just wants to make somebody so crazy that they're kind of gonna sabotage themselves, blow up on themselves like a massive, like, what is it called? Collapse in on themselves like a star. I think that is a quote from The Office. I think that's from Jan, actually, and I'm probably misquoting it. But anyway, speaking of Office quotes, this is not new. So the entire time I'm watching this season, I'm like, this feels so familiar to me. Like, I'm recognizing so many patterns, so many mannerisms that are happening here, and so many like distinct little manipulations and trying to like either alter the conversation or change the story in some way coming from Dakota's side, that it's absolutely not fair to Taylor. If this wouldn't make this episode insanely long, I would also look into Leanne, Taylor's mom's soul contract, because it is so interesting the way her life story, how her life panned out and how Taylor's life panned out, is very cyclical. It feels like this generational trauma that's playing out, and Taylor is repeating it. And the mom is a problem in and of herself. Like, the stuff that comes flying out of her mouth towards Taylor is absolutely unacceptable. I would love to peek into her chart and kind of dissect it, because there's definitely some stuff there that we're like, girl, you should be in therapy. That would be most helpful to your daughter if you sought therapy, so that you can stop saying stuff like, I should have put you up for adoption. Maybe your life would be easier. Like, when that flew out of her mouth, my jaw just dropped. Like, I couldn't believe that somebody would say that to their kid on national television and be like, this is an okay thing to say. So there's definitely a reason why Taylor is so attached to Dakota. Aside from like looking at her numerology, there's a reason she's so attached. When we start to look into her soul contract, the first thing you see is that she was born in May. That's the 5 number. She was born on the 23rd, 2 plus 3. That's also 5. She's a double 5. So family and structure, routine, having traditions and rituals is so important to her. It is double important to her than it is like for regular 5s, and regular 5s thrive in that kind of structure and stability. It is what they need most desperately, a family system. It is what Taylor wants at the bottom of her heart. Like, it is what she wants most desperately, and it's exactly what Dakota is messing around with. I feel like he knows that's her biggest wish, and he knows that it's her biggest fear to have a broken family. She says that over and over again throughout multiple seasons. Like, she has a broken family. She has a broken family. It's something that she didn't want for herself. She didn't want for her kids. And the fact that it's happening, the fact that her and Dakota aren't together and they have a child together and she has 2 other children, is absolutely devastating for her. So that is something that is very interesting. But again, I could talk about just what we saw on the show for forever. I do want to talk about the numerology in Dakota's soul contract, as well as their mutual love and compatibility, because it's good. So let's start with Dakota first, because as soon as I saw him, I'm like, I know that there are some things that Taylor's not handling well. And I believe wholeheartedly that it's because she's in fight or flight and she just cannot, like, she can't take it anymore. If you guys notice throughout the entire season of season 4, she's like, I just want somebody to listen. I just need somebody to hear me out, because Dakota won't stop interrupting her. Dakota won't let her talk. He won't let her get a word in. Her mom is very blaming, judgy, very like, that's a stupid thing to do. But you guys aren't seeing the underlying pattern that keeps her feeding into this relationship. And it's not her fault, because Dakota is baiting her so hard. And if everybody just got together kumbaya style and gave her a hug and just told her, you know what, like, we're not going to let this guy come near you because this is so toxic. Like, I can see it just draining the life out of her. It's obvious in this season. It feels like she gets more and more tired every season as they go through the secret lives of Mormon wives, and it's very easy to tell why. What she needs, she's telling people what she needs. She's saying like, hey, I just need you guys to hear me out. I need you guys to help me move forward. Like, I can't turn back time. I know this stuff has happened. Like, yeah, we can't do anything about it. Help me move on. And everybody's really focused on just beating a dead horse, you know? So let's get into Dakota's soul contract, because he is a natural born actor. He has so many subconscious programs happening over here that we need to talk about, so that you guys have a sense of who you're dealing with. I wholeheartedly believe that he is just like, he just knows how to stir the pot. He knows how to push Taylor's buttons. And then he'll be like, oh, got you on camera. Like, look at how abusive you are and how crazy you are. Like, have you ever seen those videos where like a woman is like flying off the handle and she's like throwing stuff around the house? And like the guy's just so eerily calm. And he's just like, oh my God, like, I have no idea what is wrong with you. What is happening right now? And it's like 5 seconds ago, he just told her that he cheated on her with her best friend or her sister or something like that. So yeah, that's the vibe. That's what's being put out here. Let's dig in. let's dig into Dakota's soul contract. So Dakota was born January 27th, 1993. He, right off the bat, the fact that he was born with the primary numbers 1 and 9, because he was born on the 27th, that adds up to 9. It's like the beginning and the end of the cycle. So we have very two polar opposite energies happening. One where this person likes to be in the spotlight, they like to be in a position of leadership, they like to be in authority, they like to feel like people are listening to them, they like to feel like people come to them for advice. And if you guys notice, oh my gosh, that's another thing. The way that the whole dad talk group just tiptoes around Dakota and almost like starts negging Taylor, starts calling her crazy, like, yeah, you guys just can't keep away from each other. You guys got to stop doing that. It's like, no, like, he's the one that's showing up around here. He's the one that is purposely triggering her, purposely doing things, and my god, and then telling the guy with the biggest mouth, Jordan, and then telling Jordan that he went and slept with somebody, knowing full well that he was going to go and tell Jesse immediately, and then it wasn't going to go to Taylor because Jordan can't help himself. Jordan's a whole other story. I need to do a Jesse and a Jordan compatibility and soul contract chart, because the Chihuahua complex on that guy. I feel like I've seen so much like hate about him throughout like the season, and him trying to make dad talk happen. It's a little bit insane. But yeah, he knows what he's doing. Dakota knows what he's doing. He's purposely telling things to Jordan that he knows is going to get back to Taylor, and then just watching as Taylor crashes out and calls him 150 times, and then posting it to the internet like, oh my god, she went insane. So we're not buying into that, right? We're not buying into that. Polar opposite energies, the 1 and the 9. I'm going to just keep like bouncing back and forth between the soul contract and everything that's happened on the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. In the negative, and we're going to assume that Dakota's operating from the negative. I feel like it's very like matter of fact, like common sense type of thing. I don't think you guys are going to argue with me on this. When operating in the negative, number 9s are very mistrustful, which is very ironic considering he's not a trustworthy person at all. He fears loneliness. He hates the thought of being alone, which is probably why he won't let himself be alone. Like, as soon as he feels like his grip off of Taylor is fading, she's gonna go be the bachelorette. She might actually fall in love with somebody else. I need to reinsert myself in there, and I need to call her and be like, will you accept this rose? Like, no, sir. Let's not do that. When we have number 1 operating in the negative, this is a person you cannot tell them anything. You cannot tell this person anything because they will not see themselves accurately. They're going to turn blue in the face, arguing that they're right, that their position is right, that they didn't do anything wrong. And we saw that firsthand in the argument that just happened on season 4 between Dakota and Taylor, where she's like, can I just say how I feel and then you can talk and you can tell me why it's not accurate? He will go blue in the face, arguing his point, and he will not be able to even have like a second of self-reflection and just be like, okay, maybe I was in the wrong here. So this is what we're dealing with. These two energies. Now, when we start looking into programs, subconscious programs are the thought patterns, cycles, sometimes blessings that we incarnate into this lifetime with. When they're in the positive, they act like brownie points. They act like superpowers. And they're like additional skills that we have, that we come in with, that can help us be successful, help us realize our talents, our mission. When we're not operating in alignment, when we go off path, these subconscious programs could be very bad. They could lead to a lot of conflicts or confrontations with the purpose of helping us address what it is that we can't work out, what it is that we need to learn in order to be able to kind of flip that program upside down and start operating in the positive, start operating from alignment. Dakota's soul contract has a couple of red flags when it comes to subconscious programs, because there's essentially two programs that speak to how fake he is, one of them literally being the fake program and the other being a very talented actor slash actress. He has the mimicry program. People with the mimicry program are really good at impressions. They're really good, charismatic people. They know how to work a room. They know how to be charming and funny. They likely have a very great sense of humor. And I have seen everybody be charmed by Dakota all throughout this season. He has charmed people's pants off. Like, all the guys are like, I never knew that Dakota was so funny. So he has this innate gift that would make him a great actor. Some of the most like household names that you can think of that really succeeded in acting careers have this program in their soul contract charts. So it's very interesting that he has them. I feel like he has an innate ability to understand how humans work, to understand how socializing with people works, how you can get somebody to be on your side, how you can manipulate their feelings and their emotions to make them take your side and start demonizing another person. So, red flag number one, because really this program could work very well for him if he actually used it like either professionally or put it to good use instead of using it for ulterior motives, not ulterior motives, for like personal gain. If he wasn't using it for like personal gain to manipulate people and do some shady stuff, he could use this to have a career, to have a successful career as an actor. No, this is not me saying that Dakota should become an actor, because in all reality, that guy just needs a whole lot of therapy and he needs to leave Taylor alone. But I'm saying, theoretically speaking, he would be a good actor because he knows how to act. So there's another subconscious program popping up for him that leads me to be very wary of Dakota, because I cannot tell if it's going to be like him destroying things like in the house, destroying property, or he's going, maybe this is alluding to the time that Taylor threw a chair at him. If you guys remember, I don't know if that was in season 1 or season 2, but I believe he called the cops on her because she threw something. This program, destruction of property, could very well be alluding to that incident where the cops were called and there was this whole domestic violence incident a few years ago. It could be alluding to that. It could also be predictive of a future event, but it literally talks about at some point in Dakota's incarnation there being an instance where his property is destroyed. And this is in an effort to teach him that material things aren't everything, because this program means that he is generally a very materialistic person. He likes material things and he tries to work really hard to make sure that he has luxurious things, that he has significant material wealth. And when a person gets attached to material things like that, to material wealth like that, there is usually going to be this little hiccup or conflict in the road, Lulu. And when a person gets too attached to material things, there's usually a conflict that enters the chat where he either loses a large amount of wealth or something happens to his house, like that costs him a lot of money. There's some kind of destruction that happens, and this happens in order to give him a moment of self-reflection and be like, I put so much value in this home. I put so much value in having like this stash of money, and now it's all gone and I need to reevaluate my priorities. That's the kind of thing that the program destruction of property tries to kind of draw out of us when it happens, when we've been operating from misalignment and putting way too much emphasis on. Along with that program, we see the fake program come up. The fake program, when in the positive, usually manifests as somebody being very honest with themselves and their loved ones and their past. They don't try to be someone else. They're not ashamed of what they had done. And they kind of are in this place where they're like, okay, like I'm trying to move forward with my life. I know I screwed up in the past, but now I'm trying to move forward. That's when it's operating in alignment. When it is not operating in alignment, some stuff starts to kick in. Some bad karma starts to kick in, like selfishness, like involving your children in your conflicts with your partner, being something of a hypochondriac and being like, oh, I probably have like this and this disease or this and this rare disease or like cancer as soon as you have a migraine or something like that. Here's the kicker. When in misalignment, the fake program manifests a relationship where they might feel inferior. Like there's something going on in the relationship where they might feel like they're undeserving of this partner, which I have a very strong feeling is exactly what's happening in his relationship with Taylor. And he feels so kind of insecure about it, which, funnily enough, Taylor called him out on. She called him out on being insecure. They start to act in bad faith. And they might not even realize they're doing it, which I think is what's happening here. I think Dakota has absolutely no idea how he's contributing to the problem that is in his and Taylor's relationship. I think that he's absolutely clueless in this. I think he thinks he's blameless and that this is all Taylor's fault because she can't move on from him cheating that 1, 2, 3, 4 times. But this is the fake program at work. This is how it's manifesting in Taylor's and Dakota's life. And this is why I think it's so important to have a soul contract on your partner, on your boyfriend, on your fiance before getting into a relationship with them, because it will always tell you when there's ulterior motives, when a person staying in a relationship with you, like in this situation, where it's just because they think that you're way too good for them. They feel like you're way too good for them, and they know they're like, I'm probably not going to be able to get anybody better. So they hold on to you for dear life. They're like, I need to always have this chick as my backup. I need to always have her like a phone call away so that if I end up not being able to find anyone else, I won't end up alone, which is Dakota's biggest fear. Funnily enough, Dakota was meant to come into a lot of money. I think this whole thing with dad talk, I don't think this is what is going to help him like get into a lot of money. But he was meant to come into a lot of money. He was meant to have this kind of rise to fame. I think Taylor was meant to be that kind of propeller for him that kind of rose him up. I think Taylor was meant to be that kind of propeller for him to raise him up to a place where he gets internet famous. But I'm saying this because he has the millionaire program in his soul contract. And the millionaire program manifests as a blessing the majority of the time. There's no negative side effects to it. It just means that at some point in your life, you're going to come into a large amount of money, either through work, like a lucrative business deal, either through luck, like a lottery ticket, or through an inheritance. So I would say that Taylor is the lucky lottery ticket here, because now everybody's talking about Dakota, even though it's not necessarily in a positive setting. I feel like people know who he is. So going through Dakota's soul contract, I'm like, that's not good. That's not good. That's not good. But the second I hit this one, I'm like, it's over. Done. I tried to go and no, I'm not going to say that because I feel like I have so much bias to Dakota already, and it's so much because I recognize what he's doing because I've been in a similar abusive, toxic situation like this. So it's pretty obvious to me. But as soon as I saw this, I'm like, okay, there's definitely a problem with Dakota here, and he is kind of just like pouring all of this negativity onto Taylor and then being like, oh, she's the crazy one. He has the sensitivity program. The sensitivity program in alignment is a wonderful program. It means that you are very sensitive, that you can empathize for people, you know what it feels like to feel very deep feelings, so you're not going to be going and hurting people. In misalignment, this is very bad. This is a person that bullies other people. It's the kind of negging that men do sometimes, like the term negging, how someone will make a joke at your expense and be like, oh, it was just a joke. Why don't you have a sense of humor? Don't take everything so seriously. It's not that serious. It's those types of people. Every time I see this popping up in somebody's soul contract, sometimes it's in people that like I know fairly well, I immediately recognize it and I'm like, okay, that makes so much sense. People with this program are very sensitive to criticism. So it's almost like they're so hypercritical of themselves already that whenever they feel a little bit insecure or threatened by someone else, it just comes pouring out. All of the dirt, all of the bad stuff that they say about themselves, that they're critical of themselves about, starts pouring out onto other people. And it's very obvious that it's coming from an internal place. It's coming from a place of like, you being insecure and you feeling like you have to bring other people down in order to feel better about yourself. But it's never just a joke. It's coming from a place of insecurity. And it's never just a joke. It's the way they talk about themselves in their head. And they're so used to talking to themselves like that that they think it's not a big deal when they go and say that about somebody else. Because I guarantee you, they said worse things to themselves in their own mind. So they're like, oh, it's no big deal. NBD. Lastly, we see a program coming in that talks about the disappearance of the family line, of the ancestry. And usually, how that manifests is sometimes there are early deaths in the family, losses, maybe people gone too young, like they leave too soon, they end their incarnation too soon. And that is usually because throughout the lineage, over and over again, the universe presented these people with the opportunity to grow, to evolve spiritually, to be operating from a more positive place, to operate from alignment. It kept trying to kind of lead them down the road of self exploration and growth. And throughout that ancestry, they just always chose the not growth way. They always chose misalignment. So it gets to a point where you're starting to accrue so much karma because you're not growing. You are refusing to grow and you're refusing to step into alignment with your mission and to be a decent human being. So much karma starts accruing that the universe is like, okay, like this is just like not fair anymore to keep going this road, to keep reincarnating and carrying this ancestral karma forward. So we're going to start cutting the tree branches off of the tree and like letting people incarnate into either an easier family with less ancestral karma or just not like continuing the generation at all. This may also manifest as infertility. So that gives you a little bit of insight into Dakota and his ancestry and how it's been devolving over time and what's going to happen for Dakota if he doesn't kind of be the person that breaks the cycle in his family. All right. I think we got the nitty gritty of Dakota's soul contract. We are going to take a look at their love and compatibility chart because this is not a soulmate kind of relationship. Surprise, surprise. I don't think that that is news to anybody. Specifically, there's some numerology in their mutual love and compatibility chart that talks about how this was meant to kind of propel them to success. This relationship was more so designed to make them more successful, not so much as be together. Although they're both very creative minds and they're both brilliant in their own way. Like I said, I think Dakota's a very huge people person and knows how to talk. And I feel like he gets away with murder sometimes because of that, but that's neither here nor there. The two main reasons why they met in this incarnation and what their souls were seeking to accomplish to do through them meeting was one, having that success, and two, being able to be more present. So that is the two lessons for them to learn via this relationship, how to be more present and how to succeed together. If for one reason or the other, they don't start working on that, they don't start working on being successful together, they don't start learning how to appreciate the present moment and not be so not enamored, but like obsessed with the past or too focused on the future, negative karma starts kicking in for them. How does that manifest for them specifically? We have one partner being more dependent financially on the other or health wise, like being dependent on them for health reasons. And in turn, they might not feel like they have a lot of freedom in the relationship and in their life. They might feel a little suffocated. So I think this is alluding to the fact that Taylor is this huge TikTok star and Dakota's kind of just like stepping into a very, very unconventional kind of setting, especially for Mormons or ex-Mormons. I think that might grind his gears a little bit and it might make him feel inadequate. We see that that negative karma immediately starts to kick in, and it's likely because they weren't able to not live in the past. They weren't able to find a way to succeed together, and it was overwhelmingly Taylor bringing in the finances, bringing in the support, and Dakota was just like kind of, I don't want to say stuck, but like didn't have a say in things. The negative karma that kicks in also alludes to alcoholism. It talks a little bit about how one of the partners may not be able to contribute anything financially to the relationship, and it also starts talking about alcoholism may be coming into play. This kind of leads to one of the partners taking up the job of the other partner and like doing both jobs. So this might lead to resentment, to disrespect, to fights, and eventually just blow ups where they break up. We also see their relatives coming in to this relationship, and I think that that's very spot on considering how fast Dakota involved her parents in this relationship and how hard her parents were trying to like stick them two together. They're like, no, you guys have to like figure this out. Their soul contract talks about how their relatives are literally sabotaging their relationship. So oftentimes when fights arise, relatives would interfere in the relationship, trying to break them up, trying to ruin them. We don't see that in season 1 when Dakota's first introduced, but we do see that later on. I think it was season 3 where they had a sit down with Dakota and Taylor's parents were just tearing into him, which is honestly about time. They should have stepped up to that situation a while ago and shut it down. But again, this whole thing is so karmic for both Taylor and for Leanne. It's a generational cycle, and she can't possibly help Taylor get out of the generational cycle that she like continued herself. There's also mention of physical aggression happening in the relationship, which we have seen coming from Taylor. I do want to know, I wish I could be a fly on the wall because I have a feeling that Taylor is kind of falling on the sword a lot throughout this relationship. I don't think she's telling us everything that's happening, and I have a feeling it might be because she still hopes that they eventually will be together and she doesn't want to have said a lot of hurtful things about him and then have it like thrown in her face later, like how could you still stay with him? So I have a feeling that's what's happening there. I think that whenever he lashes out aggressively, like she just takes it on the chin, and as soon as she lashes out aggressively, then he starts calling the cops on her. Surprisingly enough, the reason for a breakup in their love and compatibility chart isn't infidelity. They talk about the underlying reason being the imbalance in the relationship. And we spoke about that a little bit about how Dakota's insecure, about how one of the partners might be bringing in all the bacon, making all the money, and that might rub the other one the wrong way because they feel like they don't have the freedom to be able to do what it is that they want to do. That is the underlying kind of hiccup in this relationship. I don't know why I just made a like check with my hands, but that's the underlying reason why they're having this issue. It's because of Dakota's insecurity, because he feels like he's not providing. And that's such that kind of ties the whole aspect of religious trauma into this whole soup of a mess that's happening in their relationship, where he feels like he needs to be a certain way, he needs to play a certain role. Maybe that's what's tripping him up. I want so badly. I want so badly. I wish that you guys could just like tag Taylor a bunch in this, a bunch of times. I want so badly to just like tell her to move on, because on one hand, she's saying she can't be with him. She can't trust Dakota. She can't possibly move on from what has happened because there's no trust in the relationship. There's no way of knowing that he's never going to do this again. But in the same episode, then she's crashing out over him going and being with somebody else. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't say you don't want to work on it and then be upset that he doesn't love you enough to stay celibate forever until you decide to take him back. So that's the only kind of thing I have to say about Taylor. Everything else, I think, is just trauma induced, like, scandals. They're both very bad for each other. And we had a little bit of a sneak peek into Dakota's mindset, into his world, and why all of this stuff is kind of manifesting for him, and how it's showing up in their mutual love and compatibility chart, which was very interesting. I was a little thrown off. I'm like, I thought that it was 100% going to be like infidelity in there, but that's not the underlying problem for them. That's not the underlying problem for them. It's really the fact that he's bothered that she's successful, which is not, I don't feel like that's a unique grievance when it comes to relationships between successful women and men like Dakota. Taylor, I just took a sneak peek into her soul contract again to, like, as a refresher. Taylor has a huge mother wound, and I've spoken a little bit about Leanne. I've spoken how I want to take a look at her soul contract, because I guarantee you there's so much more to this whole dynamic, to the reason why Taylor is so stuck in this toxicity. It has to do a lot with her mom. There's a mother wound there for Taylor, and we can see it. We can see how she always comes to her mom, and she's trying to kind of get that support and get that unconditional love that she isn't getting from Dakota. And she's always, always, always met with judgment. She is met with, like, her mom saying, like, maybe I should have given you up for adoption. You did a stupid thing. You are trash. Like, maybe don't call your daughter trash. Maybe that shouldn't be a thing that should ever come out of your mouth. Again, I think this is a generational thing. I think there's also problems that carried over from Taylor's grandmother that might have been carried to Leanne, and then Leanne just passed it right on down. At some point, somebody's got to stop it. At some point, somebody's got to be the cycle breaker. And it's the hardest thing in the world to do when you're raised a certain way and you have to change your behavior. Who did I hear recently talking about that? I don't remember where I just saw that it's difficult to reprogram your brain and change your behavior when you have been behaving a different way your entire life. So all that to say, Taylor and her relationship with her mom is a very big sore point, is a very big button here that I think Dakota also found a way to kind of press when he immediately went to her parents when they were fighting or having some kind of issue, and was getting them to turn on her, getting them to take his side. And it's very interesting. It is so interesting that when he came over their house, they were all like, Taylor, you can't be doing this. Like, why, like, you are trash. And then fast forward 2 seasons later, they're tearing him a new one, like, at this, like, reunion thing. It's like, guys, like, pick a lane, because you can't be responsible for the reason that Taylor is the way she is, like, for all the hurt that she's had to go through, and then try to call it out. So nah, I don't like that. I don't like that for a second. If I end up finding Leanne's birthday, I don't even know if they would have her birthday on the internet. I'd be very curious to see what's happening there, because I have a feeling that there's mother wound on mother wound on mother wound stacking up, and at some point Taylor has to be the one that just breaks it off so she doesn't carry it over into the next generation. So that is what I have for you guys when it comes to Dakota, when it comes to Taylor, and we even got a little bit of stuff about Leanne. There's a lot of trauma here, and I feel like anybody that's been in an abusive relationship is going to immediately recognize the signs of what's happening, is going to immediately recognize the little manipulations, the negging, the blaming, the way a person will not let them get a thought out without trying to alter the story, without trying to shut them up and make sure that their feelings aren't hurt. This is why Taylor is so hurt. This is why she feels like she can't get a word out. Nobody lets her talk. Nobody listens to her. Everybody's just blaming her. And it's like, there is a reason she is in fight or flight, barely surviving, because this person will not let her breathe. This person is so insecure that they have to immediately show up as soon as it's going good for her, as soon as she has an opportunity, and sabotage the hell out of it. And I'm not here for it. That's not okay. And that's in his soul contract. It is in his soul contract, this deep rooted insecurity. And it's in their love and compatibility chart. So Taylor, run. Find somebody else, date somebody else. I will do a love and compatibility chart for you guys, and I will tell you if you guys are the perfect match, because love and compatibility charts can do that. Love and compatibility charts can do that. They can tell you if your relationship is karmic, if this is like a relationship that's just meant to teach you guys a lesson. It doesn't mean that you can't continue the relationship, but when it's karmic, usually there's a very important lesson that you guys both need to learn. When you start working together, you can still continue the relationship without it like being toxic or negative to each other. But there are relationships where it's just like soulmate connection. You guys were born to just make things work with each other. That's all I have for you. How many times have I said that? That's all I have for you guys for Taylor, Frankie, Paul, and Dakota Mortensen's love and compatibility chart and Dakota soul contract chart. Let me know what you guys think, because I know there's a million handfuls of things that have happened in this season and in the past 3 seasons that have just been gigantic red flags. We didn't even get started on dad talk. We didn't even get started on, we started on Jordan a little bit. I would be like dying to do Jordan and Jesse's soul contract chart. I'm very interested to do that. So maybe that's going to be the next episode. If you guys were interested in getting your own soul contract chart, you can do so by going to thesoulecosystem.com. Otherwise, if you guys wanted to learn how to start calculating soul contracts, I am having a course called Soul Space right now, which is an introduction to soul contracts. It's going to teach you how to calculate them using dates of birth and how to read everybody's soul contract to filth, how to know what they signed up to do here in this incarnation, what they're meant to learn, what they're meant to experience. It's a wild ride. If you were interested in that, I will link it down below. Otherwise, thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful weekend, and let me know what you think on this Taylor, Frankie, Paul, and Dakota tea.